All right, today we are officially launching an investigation. We're going after a secret culprit that affects millions of people, bone loss. You know, it really does operate in the shadows, but just like any thief, it always leaves clues. So let's uncover them together.
And wow, what a powerful name, right? It's not called the obvious thief or the noisy thief. It's silent. And that's because it steals your bone density little by little without you ever feeling a single thing.
That's the whole problem, isn't it? You just can't feel your bones getting weaker day by day. There's no alarm bell, no internal warning system that goes off. For so many people, the very first time they realize this thief has been at work is when a simple trip or fall suddenly leads to a broken bone. But here's the thing about any thief. They always leave clues, and our job today is to learn exactly how to spot them.
Okay, so our investigation starts with the physical evidence. You know, the signs your body might be showing on the outside that can point to a serious problem on the inside. These are the clues that, let's be honest, are often just dismissed as, oh, I'm just getting older.
What's so fascinating here is how all these seemingly unrelated things actually connect. That loss of height you might notice? Well, that's often due to tiny little compression fractures in your spine. And receding gums? That can actually signal a loss of bone density in your jaw. Even something like brittle nails can be a tell, since they're made of a lot of the same building blocks as your bones. And get this, studies have directly linked a weakening grip strength to lower bone density in their hips and spine. So you see, these aren't just random signs. They are all interconnected pieces of evidence.
So we've looked at the external signs. But what happens when the evidence isn't something you can see in the mirror, but it's something you feel whenever you move? Well, that leads us right to our next set of clues.
Okay, now we're following the trail of pain. And there was this fascinating study that did just that. It was looking for very specific movements that could act as a super reliable signal for a fresh fracture in the spine.
So, the specific injury they were hunting for is called a vertebral compression fracture, or VCF for short. And this brilliantly explains that height loss clue we just talked about. These tiny fractures cause the vertebrae to literally flatten out, which can lead to that telltale stoop, or that curve in the upper back.
So what did the study find? Well, among elderly patients who had acute low back pain, two incredibly simple movements were powerful predictors. We're not talking about complex yoga poses here, but fundamental everyday actions. Struggling to get up from lying down or sitting, and having a hard time just rolling over in bed. These motions put just enough of a load on the spine to expose a hidden injury.
And here is the absolute kicker. When the researchers created a score based on how difficult these two movements were, they found it had a 97% sensitivity for detecting a fresh vertebral fracture. Let me say that again. That means if you have a fresh fracture, there is a 97% chance these movements will be difficult for you. That is an incredibly powerful diagnostic clue. Okay, so we've got physical evidence and we've got painful movements. Our case against this thief is getting stronger. But what if? What if it isn't working alone? What if it has a hidden accomplice? Something lurking in our nutrition that's actually making its job a whole lot easier.
So let's look at our third clue, the accomplice, vitamin B12 deficiency. More and more research is pointing to a really strong connection between low B12 levels and poor bone health. And that turns this vitamin into a key person of interest in our investigation.
So how does this actually work? Well, the leading theory involves our osteoblasts. Those are the specialized cells that build new bone. Think of them kind of like a construction crew for your skeleton. Vitamin B12, it seems, gives that crew the green light to get to work. Without enough B12, the crew just can't do its job properly, and the whole balance tips towards bone loss.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of the risk. A study that looked at frail elderly women found that those with a deficient B12 status were 7 times more likely to have osteoporosis than women with normal levels. 7 times. That's not just a clue. That's a smoking gun.
So, we've gathered the clues, the physical signs, the painful movements, and this hidden accomplice in our diet. Now for the big question. How do we use all this evidence to catch the thief red-handed and finally get a definitive answer?
It's really a clear 3-step process. First, you recognize the signs in your own body, based on everything we've talked about. Second, you talk to your doctor, but you're not just going in saying, I'm worried. You are presenting your evidence like a detective. And third, you ask for the one definitive test.
And that definitive test is called the DEXA scan. It's simple, it's completely painless, and it uses a really low dose of X-ray to give an exact measurement of your bone mineral density.
It just replaces all the guesswork with cold, hard facts. This is how you confirm if that silent thief has actually been at work.
And honestly, this is the most important takeaway from all of this. For way too long, we've been told that bone loss is just a normal part of getting older. But the evidence clearly shows that's just not true. This is not some unavoidable fate. It is a treatable condition. And catching the thief is always the first step to fighting back.
So, I'll leave you with this one question. Your body is constantly communicating with you, constantly leaving clues. The key to solving this mystery, whether it's for yourself or for someone you love, is to learn the language it's speaking. So, are you listening?